At some point tonight, the yard outside your bedroom window will go completely still. You will not notice it happen. By the time the last bird falls silent, you will probably be inside, watching television, making dinner, settling in for the evening. The yard will look empty. It is not. For the next 10 to 12 hours, in the dark, you cannot see through. A population of small wild animals will be doing things within 30 feet of your house that almost no one in America has ever witnessed in full. Most people assume that birds simply sleep at night the way humans do. Eyes closed, body still, nothing happening until morning. The reality is far more deliberate, far more strange, and far more aware than most people realize. There is a behavior that begins within the hour before sunset, and that the bird in your yard has been preparing for all day. There is a physiological process some species enter, one that would kill almost any other animal of comparable size, that lets a bird the weight of a few coins survive a January night in Pennsylvania or Ohio. And there is a signal the birds in your yard are reading from your house every single night that you have never thought of as a signal at all. Welcome back to Birds Are Watching. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe, because what you're about to learn will change the way you look at every bird that visits your yard. Stay until the end. What the birds in your yard are doing in relation to you, specifically, during the hours you are asleep, that is the part of this story, and not think you will forget. Tonight, we are going into the night. The hidden 10 hours during which the yard you think is empty is doing something it does not do at any other time of the day, and you are part of what it is responding to. Number 1. The hour before sunset. When the decision is made, the first thing to understand about what happens at night is that it does not begin at night. It begins in the last hour of daylight, in the 60 to 90 minutes before sunset. The birds in your yard are making a decision they will commit to for the next 12 hours. Where, exactly, to sleep. Research from Cornell Lab of Ornithology and field studies on roost site selection in American songbirds have documented this as one of the most consistent behaviors in backyard birds. The decision is not made casually. The bird is choosing the place its life will depend on if a predator approaches in the dark. For a northern cardinal in a typical American suburb, the decision is dense vegetation within a few hundred feet of its daytime territory, a holly bush, an arborvitae hedge, a tangle of grapevines on a back fence. For a black-capped chickadee, it is something more specific, a cavity, often a hole in a tree the bird identified weeks earlier, sometimes a nest box left up from spring. What is striking is the consistency. Most of these birds will return to the same roost site, night after night, for weeks or months at a time. If you have a thick evergreen shrub in your yard, or a nest box you stopped paying attention to in July, there is a real possibility that a specific bird has been sleeping in it every night since fall began. You may have been the closest neighbor of an animal you have never knowingly seen. Number 2. The drop in body temperature. The second thing that happens at night is one of the most extraordinary physiological feats in the animal world, and it is happening in roughly every American backyard north of the Mason-Dixon line. On a cold winter night, the chickadee enters a state called regulated hypothermia. Cornell Lab research and decades of work by the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources on black-capped chickadee thermoregulation have documented what the bird does. On a cold January night, a chickadee can deliberately lower its body temperature by up to 22 degrees Fahrenheit below its normal daytime temperature. Its metabolism slows. Its heart rate drops. It enters a controlled physiological shutdown that conserves just enough energy to survive temperatures that would otherwise kill it before morning. A chickadee weighs roughly 11 grams. That is the weight of 2 American pennies. On a 5-degree night in Minnesota or Maine, an unprotected animal of that body mass would not last the night. With regulated hypothermia and a cavity roost that traps body heat, it does. Night after night, all winter. What is happening inside the woodpecker hole in the maple at the edge of your yard, on the coldest nights of the year, is a tiny animal performing a metabolic balancing act on the exact edge of survival, and waking in the morning to do it again the following night. Number 3. The communal roost. The third thing that happens at night is something the birds in your yard would never do during the day. They sleep together, the eastern bluebird is the most striking American example. During the breeding season, a male eastern bluebird is fiercely territorial. He will not tolerate another male within 30 feet of his nest box, but in winter, the same male will squeeze into a nest box with up to a dozen other bluebirds and sleep pressed against them for warmth. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and multiple state nest box monitoring programs have documented these communal winter roosts repeatedly. Boxes that contain a single nesting pair in May have been found in January holding 12, 13, even 15 birds in a single cavity. The territorial rules of breeding season are entirely suspended. The arithmetic is simple. Shared body heat means survival. Carolina wrens, which do not migrate and have to face genuine cold survival challenges in northern parts of their U.S. range, will sometimes share roost cavities for the same reason. What this tells you about your yard is something most American backyard birders never think about. The nest boxes you maintain, the dense shrubs you have not pruned aggressively, the woodpile in the corner you keep meaning to deal with, are not just breeding infrastructure. They are survival infrastructure. On the coldest nights of the year, those structures are the difference between birds that wake up in your yard tomorrow morning and birds that do not. Number 4. The sleep that is not quite sleep. The fourth thing that happens at night is the most subtle, and it is the part that begins to change how you should think about what your yard looks like at midnight. A sleeping bird is not fully asleep. Cornell lab research and behavioral neuroscience studies, published in the Journal of Experimental Biology, have documented a phenomenon in birds called unihemispheric slow-wave sleep. Many bird species can sleep with one hemisphere of the brain at a time. One side enters a slow-wave sleep state. The other remains active and alert. The eye on the alert side often stays open, scanning for predators. The hemispheres switch periodically, so both sides get rest. But the bird is never fully unconscious in the way a sleeping mammal is. A chickadee in a tree cavity at 2 in the morning is not asleep. It is monitoring. The snap of a branch under a passing fox, the scrape of a raccoon's claw on bark, the distant call of a great horned owl from 3 streets over. All of these can trigger immediate alertness in a roosting bird. Your yard at midnight has a sensory network running through it. The yard looks still through your window. It is full of small open eyes you cannot see, distributed across cavities and dense shrubs and the interior branches of evergreens, monitoring the dark with one side of the brain while the other side recovers. They are there. You simply cannot see them, and they are paying far more attention to the night than you are. Number 5. The birds that are not in your yard at all tonight. The fifth thing that happens at night is something most American backyard birders never realize is happening above their own house. On certain nights in spring and fall, the night sky above your roof fills with birds. Cornell Lab's Birdcast system, the free real-time migration tracking platform that uses U.S. Weather Service radar to monitor nocturnal bird movement, has measured peak migration nights on which hundreds of millions of birds cross the United States in a single night. These are not exotic species you would never recognize. These are your birds. The American robin that will visit your lawn in March left the United States last October and is now somewhere in the southern U.S. or Mexico, and at this moment is moving north at night through the dark above the country. The ruby-throated hummingbird that will arrive at your feeder in May has crossed the Gulf of Mexico in a single non-stop flight of roughly 500 miles, navigating by stars and by the Earth's magnetic field. On a peak spring migration night, the National Weather Service radar across the eastern United States shows what looks like an enormous storm system moving northward. Not rain, not clouds, but birds. The biological mass of migration is large enough to return radar signals that American meteorologists had to formally distinguish from precipitation. This is happening above your house. On certain nights this spring and this fall, the birds that will spend the summer in your yard are passing over you right now in darkness, navigating by light you cannot see, on paths their ancestors have flown for millions of years. But what comes next is the part of the night I think most American backyard birders have never considered, and it is what pulls all of this together. Number 6. The presence inside your house that the birds in your yard are aware of. I want you to think about something for a moment. Across everything we have covered the roost selection at dusk, the regulated hypothermia, the communal sleeping, the half-awake monitoring, the migration above your roof. There is a single fact that has been quietly running underneath all of it. The birds in your yard are not unaware of you at night. They are aware of you differently than they are during the day. Research on the cognitive ecology of urban and suburban birds, including work from Cornell Lab and from European behavioral ecology programs, has documented that backyard birds incorporate human dwellings into their environmental model, and they read those dwellings continuously. A bird in the holly bush at the corner of your yard, monitoring the dark with one eye, is reading your house. The light that comes on in the bathroom window at 11:30. The flicker of the television through the curtains in the living room. The pattern of when the porch light turns off. The faint warmth radiating from the basement window facing the bed. To a small wild animal sleeping in your shrubs in January, your house is not a backdrop. It is the most consistent, most predictable, most readable structure in its nighttime environment. The bird is not afraid of the lights. The bird has learned them. A house in which a particular set of lights comes on at the same time each night, and goes off at the same time, and stays quiet between certain hours, is a house the birds in the surrounding yard have built into their sense of safety. When the bedroom light went off at 10:45 last night, the chickadee in the cavity 20 feet from your roof registered it. It did not need to act on it. The pattern was correct. When the light went off 20 minutes earlier than usual the night before that, the same bird registered the variance and held its alertness slightly longer. You have been part of the night in your yard for longer than you have known. Your sleep, your lights, the sound of your furnace turning on at 3 in the morning, the predictability of your house as a sleeping place. All of these are being read by the small open eyes in the branches outside. The yard is not empty at night. The yard is full of animals who have made peace with your house specifically, not with houses in general, with yours, with the patterns of light and silence and warmth that signal, to a bird measuring survival in 11-gram increments, that the human inside is asleep and the night will be predictable until morning. The next time you turn off the bedroom light, remember what you now know. Somewhere within 30 feet of you, in cavities and shrubs, and the inner branches of evergreens, the going dark of that window is being read. Not by a stranger, by neighbors who have been watching the patterns of your house long enough to know the difference between a normal night and an unusual one. You have been sharing the dark with them the entire time. You just did not know they were aware of the sharing. Tell me in the comments, have you ever heard birds calling in the middle of the night in your yard, seen movement through dark branches, or noticed something outside after midnight that surprised you? What was happening? What season was it? I read everyone. I'll see you in the next one.